For the Love of Food. Today we're going to be making a dish that went over so well at our launch party, the cheesy turkey grit casserole. So when we think about this casserole, we've got to think about it in different parts, right? Just like we do any other good casserole. So the first part is the meat part. How do we get the meat cooked? And so we're going to be using turkey sausage, and we're going to be kicking that up with some spices. And behind me, I don't know if you can see, but I'm already taking and reducing some onions down so that they become translucent. And then I'll pull those out, and then we'll put our sausage in and give it all those little spices. The second part that we have to think about is, of course, the grit part, right? So how do we make our grits? Well, I just buy any old store-bought quick grits because it doesn't really matter. Grits is grits. That's my philosophy anyway. But I don't make my grits with water because that would make them nasty, right? Be tasteless. I make mine with chicken stock. And I prefer to make mine with a homemade chicken stock. But certainly if you don't have any homemade chicken stock in the house, you can use a store-bought chicken stock. And if you do, make sure that you kick it up with one of these little bad boys. This is one of those stock homemade better than bouillon type things, all right? So I don't get any promotion for telling you the brand name, but you all know you can look for these in the soup aisle where you find your chicken stock. All right, so the last part of it will be the creamy mixture that makes a casserole, and that is going to be cheddar cheese and cream cheese. And I'll post the recipe, of course, on the site to show you what amounts you should be using of each. Again, we really are excited about making this dish because we had no idea what a big hit it would be. Although I make a grit bowl that's already posted on the site that I put poached eggs over, and that was the inspiration for this casserole. So anyway, what makes it tasty? Well, the chicken stock. We put in some red pepper flake into the turkey sausage to give that a little bit of a kick. And of course, we've sweated out these onions, and those onions add a nice layer of flavor as well. When we have it all together and everything cooked, we'll assemble it by mixing some of this cream cheese and cheddar cheese together. And then we'll mix the cooled turkey sausage right into it. We mix it up with our hands. That adds flavor. No, just teasing. We're going to go ahead and do that and mix it with our hands because it's easiest. And then we are taking our layer of grits and we'll pour them over the top of this casserole, put a few pads of butter on there, and put it back in the oven to bake. This would be a wonderful Easter brunch dish or any kind of brunch dish, but just as a thought and an idea for you. All right, we'll be back in just a little bit to show you how we're compiling it. And as always, everything will be posted on the recipe and the website. We really appreciate you. Thanks for watching For the Love of Food. All right, so welcome back For the Love of Food. What we're doing here is we're browning up this turkey sausage. We've pulled the onions here out of the pan because they were cooked enough for my liking. But I wanted to show you the cooking of the turkey sausage, and here's why. Because one of the things that's really important in getting this dish right is making sure that this turkey sausage releases all of the liquid inside of it and that you're able to cook it at a high enough temperature so that it turns crispy brown, because that is going to add a whole lot more flavor. So I've not added any spices in here yet. All I'm doing is just browning this meat up, and I like to break it up as much as I can with my spatula. Now when I'm making a very large amount of this, so if you were doubling the recipe or whatever, maybe even quadrupling the recipe, you could take the meat and put it right inside the food processor, which will break it down for you. So again, I'll come back in just a few minutes and show you what this looks like as it starts to turn nice and brown and crispy. And then when I know there's not a whole lot of liquid that is going to be pulled out of it, that's when we'll add in all of those nice little spices, including that red pepper flake. All right, I'll be back in just a few. Turkey is releasing some of this liquid, and I'm working in a very warm, hot, or I should say hot cast iron pan. So if you were just using a regular fry pan, you might just go ahead and just, you know, bring it over to the sink and dump some of that out. But since I'm working with a very hot pan, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to scoop out some of that liquid. You can see me just pulling some of it out with a spoon. It's okay if there's a little in there. I just don't want to boil the turkey. I want it to fry. And to me, that's one of the secrets of getting it nice and flavorful, is actually letting it crisp up. So yeah, that's not too much liquid in there now. We're back to frying. Just wanted to show you that. We'll be back in just a few minutes. I think we're about to the point where we could add in our spices. So we'll do that, and actually let's go ahead and do that right now. So what I'm going to do for 1 package of turkey is I'm going to add about a tablespoon of red pepper flake. If your family doesn't like spicy, by all means use less. I'm going to use about a teaspoon of garlic powder and about a teaspoon of onion powder. Or maybe even a little less onion powder. Maybe 3/4 of a teaspoon. And then I'm just going to keep mixing this around. You could also add some salt and black pepper here if you want to. I already added some to my grits, so I'm feeling pretty good about that. And while I'm doing this, I am now got some water going over here to the left of me. Show you here if I can. Got some water going here for the grits themselves. So we're going to go ahead and just let this cook up. See if we can get some brown on this meat, which I don't think that's going to be a problem. And whenever I think I need it, I add a little bit of olive oil to my pan because I don't want it to burn the pan, right? So we can just add a little bit of olive oil, which will help crisp up that meat. And don't worry that the pan has all this brown stuff on it. That's great. We're going to be able to deglaze this and work with this pan because it's got all that nice flavor in there. I always say this, I wish we had smell-o-vision because this turkey, now that it's got that little bit of spice to it, it smells wonderful already. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let this cook up just a little bit longer here. And then once we feel that meat is brown enough, then we'll go ahead and deglaze. Very dry and crumbly. And now I'm just waiting for it to crisp and brown just a little bit more. If I want, I can add a little more spice to it. I can add a little bit more red pepper flake if I want to kick this up just a little bit more. I think I'll put in about 1/4 teaspoon more. Because I think some of it has stuck to my pan, right? So I want to make sure I have all that flavor mixed in there. All right, so what I did as I was going along, if you use a pan like this, I was deglazing the pan with a little bit of the chicken stock, so you can see as I put it in there. See how nicely that just cleans up the pan? So that's what my intention is to do once the turkey is browned. I wanted to just kind of show you that I was doing that just so we didn't have any burnt or anything sticking there. So, in full disclosure, I don't usually use this pan. I got the idea of maybe use it in this pan, cook just with this one pan as we were going through to kind of give you a better view into my fry pan, but we'll see. I did say I was heating up some water, and let me explain to this because I told you I don't use water in my grits. I use chicken stock. So what I did was I was using just a small amount of water on the bottom of the pan and then brought my chicken stock in. As we can see, that's boiling. All right, welcome back. So we're to the part of the casserole where we're going to build it. So the first thing that I want to show you is that I've cleaned out my pan and I'm going to spray it well with a good amount of non-stick cooking spray. I do not want this casserole to stick, right? So there's a good amount of non-stick cooking spray in there. All right, so here we are, and we are going to go ahead and build this casserole now. And what I'm going to do, the first thing I'm going to do is I've mixed in some cream cheese, about half of a package of cream cheese, so about 4 ounces. and about a cup to a cup and a half of cheddar cheese. I'm going to take my grit mixture, which is now cooled, and dump it right in there. And I'm going to use my hands, and we are going to mix it together. Now, if you're somebody who doesn't like to use their hands, you could certainly, by all means, use a spoon. This goes a lot faster if you just mix it this way. All right, so I'm going to make sure that that's blended well. We're going to drop in a few eggs, and then that will bind that together very nicely. We'll put in our onions, and we'll be back to show you how that looks in just a moment. All right, so let's go ahead and drop in our eggs right into our mixture. I like to put them in here first just to be on the safe side. Make sure that they're good. Pop them in. We're going to do 4 eggs. Actually, let's do 3. I think 3 will be plenty for this amount. And then we can put our mixture together. All right, so let's continue mixing this with our hands. Now you can see we have a whole different consistency, right? But we haven't added in the onions yet. We still have onions to go, don't we? Let's put in our translucent onions. And now that's going to go right into the bottom of our casserole pan. If you wanted, you could have beaten those eggs first. I see no reason, as long as you mix them well, that you should have to do that. So let's go ahead. Got a whole breakfast right here. You got your eggs, your cheese, your sausage, and your grits. We'll put the grits on the top and then drop in a few pads of butter. So this is a little bit of work to put together, like any casserole, right? But the reality of it is that you're going to have a wonderful dish to be able to serve your family. Again, you don't have to make it in a cast iron pot. When I made it for the launch, I just did it in a throwaway tinfoil pan. But I thought it might come out and look a little bit prettier in the casserole, in the cassolette. So that's why we did that. All right, I'm going to go wash my hands off and obviously edit this part out. But we'll be back in just a moment to put the grits on the top. All right, so we've added our grits onto the top. Let's go ahead and put a few pads of butter, a little salt, and a little pepper. Here we go. And we'll be able to bake this in the oven for about 40 to 45 minutes until we think it is set properly. When you take it out of the oven, you're going to want to let it rest for a little bit because it won't be hardened or set all the way until it actually sits up for a little bit. And there you have it, the turkey grit casserole. We're going to call it the cheesy turkey grit casserole because you can add more cheese to the top of this if you'd like. I'm not going to because we don't like ours too cheesy, but you'd be more than welcome to sprinkle cheese all over the top of this to get it nice and crispy. Thanks for watching For the Love of Food.